Well, God bless you, everybody. Today, the topic is God is triple blessed with you. Triple blessed. Now, before I get started, I need to remind you that God is not a corporal being. He does not have a touchable, visible body, yet we can see Him everywhere and feel Him everywhere. He's too big for a body, for that matter. He's too big for a time zone, but He's closer to you than the very air that you breathe. God does not live or hang out at one or even a few special holy places on earth. This God of ours is so massive, so big, so amazing, so huge that it takes all of eternity to hold Him. In trying to explain this God of ours, the prophet Isaiah said that God inhabits eternity. Quite a heady concept for somebody who lived before 750 BC. What he was able to visualize it was that God is at this very moment way back in the spinning up of this ever-growing universe, and He is at the same time fast-forwarded into your remarkable futures, way in the future. He is at this second enjoying watching you learn to use those amazing new bodies that you often dream about. Man so wants to understand God that he imagines Him in a well-branded religious box of their choosing, looking like them and having the same judgments as they themselves do. This singular act of colorful conformity is the most popular way that we limit God from helping us. Psalm 78:41. Hint, don't try to put God in a box. He ain't gonna fit. God's not gonna fit. Don't think, or should I say, the God we know doesn't listen to the group of who you consider believers more than that lesser group over there that you call unbelievers that look different and dress funny. You see, in that He is everywhere present, He hears everybody's every thought, every time. Everybody. Now, I find it amusing that even sports teams and soldiers from both sides pray for God's help and believe that He does in fact help both sides. And He does. In that God is everywhere present and fills all time, He continually hears everyone's request. It's like everyone talking to the DJ at the exact same time. Every second of the day, God hears your entire lifetime of requests. We must get it through our heads that He's heard us already. And spoiler alert, prayer is more for you than it is for Him. It helps you focus on what you want so you can believe to receive. But that's a whole nother topic for another day. Today we're going to see how God is triple blessed with you. God is triple blessed with you. In it, the book of Genesis lays out the starting point of what I will clumsily term true humanity. I will take you into a limited glimpse of the mind of God and show 3 verses that boldly reveal God's private view of you. This is how He sees you. And the verses are going to be Genesis 1:22, Genesis 1:28, and 2:3. And it's going to impress upon us just how blessed the Creator is to have you around. Now face it, God loves you with uncontainable love. It's uncontainable. If you have ever had the joy of holding your newborn baby or gazed into the eyes of your new puppy or kitten, you may get these 3 verses. I was just at the hospital visiting a couple who had their first child, and they were glowing, as were each of the other visitors. And the baby was being passed around in his little knitted cap and bunny wrap, and each time someone held him, he got the same look of wonderment and awe and love and acceptance, that special glow of looking at something super special. If you've ever proudly looked back at and mentally reabsorbed a project you worked so hard on and finally completed, you may understand how blessed God is with you. I had a friend who used to construct highway overpasses, and he told me that he remembers and can point out every overpass that he ever worked on. And when we would drive down the interstate, he would point to and say, "Built that one. I built that one." And and I thought that was pretty cool. It meant a lot to him. And God looks at you and he points at you and he goes, "I built you and I like it." You see, let me look at you again. God does those double takes. It's like he just can't help. You ever get something new and you just want to keep walking past it and looking at it? You get a new floor, get a new bed, get a new dresser, get a new whatever it is, new baby. It's like you just can't help but want to look at it. That's how God is still with you, with us. Remember the first time you were riding in a car and heard the song that you worked so hard to write and you heard it playing on the radio? Could life get any better? That's how blessed God is with you. All that hard work finally realized. Now you better get working on that next hit. Or what about launching your first iPhone app and your company going public and you stand there smiling and proud in your little dress or suit as the Wall Street bell is rung? Bong. You think you've arrived. To God, you always have. How about the anxious joy of watching someone slowly unwrap the present you painstakingly handpicked just for them? And you're about to come unglued with anticipation. Come on. You're opening it way too slow. You want to grab it from them and just rip the wrapping off, don't you? But you don't. That's how God feels about you. He can't wait for you to lose the wrappings and get down to the real you, the gift of who you really are. God is triple blessed with you. Now, the word blessed that we're about to read in Genesis is how God feels about you. It's a little different than you think of the word blessed. It, like the examples above, means to be adored at close range. God adores you at close range. He adores you. He just can't stop looking at you. To bless means to be so blessed that the only thing you can think of doing at this time is to kneel down and marvel at your creation. And here, the creation is you. God exists for you. God inhabits eternity for you. God gave His Son for you. You're a pretty big deal. You are a pretty big deal to God. If the people of this earth could just think about God's view of us and utilize their own gift to the fullest while others unwrap their personal gift, wars would become a thing of the past, as would poverty, sickness, and dandruff. So let's get a running start and begin to unwrap these three amazing blessings in Genesis. Just how blessed is God about you? He's triple blessed. Preview. Let's look at those three verses in Genesis that helped train Adam and Eve, Moses and the rebellion and the rebellious children of Israel. These would have been one of the first things that God ever shared with Adam and Eve to help them keep their head together, and this is what they broke later. This is what Moses had to get himself to believe, and he had to train the children of Israel to believe before they could ever enter the promised land. And I tell you, these are things that we need to understand if we want to enter our promised land, quote unquote. The first blessing, Genesis 1:22 from the King James. And God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters and the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth." Okay, not bad, but what's the big deal, Mark? I get the be fruitful and multiply thing and fill the earth thing, but what's up? I just say, hang in there, man. We're just getting warmed up here. The second blessing, Genesis 1:28. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Now this is a bit similar to blessing number 1, except it adds the words subdue and dominion. What has this all got to do with God's view of us? Well, I ask you, hang in there with me for a few more minutes. Now the third blessing, Genesis 2:3. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. Now are you talking about taking a day of rest, Mark? Like that's going to happen anytime soon. Is that all you got, Mark? Well, that's not what this means so much more than what you think it means. Bear with me a few more minutes and allow me to take the time to unwrap this lovely gift and to see that the gift is you, the true you. How spiritual beings see you. Now this is interesting. Ephesians 1:4 says that God chose us before the foundation of the world. That's a long time ago, but it's no time at all for God. You know, God wanted to unwrap you millions of years ago, before you were born. The thing is, we have to unwrap our own gift. It's up to us. 1 Peter 1:10-12 says that what we have and what we are is so great, so amazing, so potentially powerful that the prophets of old and even God's very own angels continually focused on and deeply desire to look into the true us. Even the angels are like, what? What? And all I want you to do is catch a glimpse today of who you really are. Last week we talked about who God is, that he's not a little being floating around there with a beard on a cloud, that he inhabits everything and everyone and all eternity all at the same time. Now, this is how God thinks of you. And if we can understand these three blessings, how God is triple blessed with us, our life will never be the same. And so we're going to look at the true us here. Now, Jesus' half-brother wrote in chapter 2 of the book that bears his name that if we can stop talking about and walking with and start walking with power and start actually living with that authority, that a chill will tingle the spine of the devils and they will shudder. That's what blesses God about you. There's something in you that is so freaking great that you cause a chill to run up the spine of the devil. So what are we going to do with that information? See, each Genesis blessing builds on the next. Now let's break it down. Blessing 1, blessed by your soul. Genesis 1:20-23 I'm going to read. And God said, Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And God created great whales and every living creature that moveth, and the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God blessed them. Here we go. God blessed them, saying, Be fruitful and multiply and fill the waters and the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth. And the evening and the morning were the fifth day. 5 is grace. Now, many of us have been taught that man is a three-part being, body, soul, and spirit. It's cool. It's true. Having all three makes us a complete human. Using all three makes you completely amazing and a little bit scary to our enemies. The first blessing deals strictly with the soul life that fills every living, breathing creature. The soul is something commonly confused with the spirit, but they are vastly different. The second blessing is going to deal with the spirit. This one is just the soul. God is so cool that he knew humankind would function quite efficiently and efficaciously with only a body and soul. Even Jesus Christ, the one who totally mastered living as a true human of body, soul, and spirit, tells us that the power of thought overflowing into action, which is nothing more than activating one's soul life, can move mountains. Now, we're not even in the spiritual here, this mountain moving stuff. This is just flat out believing. So now we're going to learn a lesson of the soul, a lesson of your soul. The soul is nothing more than the life that's in you. It's a functioning brain, a beating heart, and air filling our lungs and bloodstreams. You know, it's the sights we see, the songs we hear, the skin we touch, the food we smell and taste. The soul is responsible for the thoughts we think, the dreams we envision, the goals we set, the plans we make. A human is the only animal on earth with cognitive thought. We can 1 second dream about the future, and the next moment we haunt ourselves with worries of the past. As Mark Twain so aptly stated, quote, "Man is the only animal that blushes or needs to," end of quote. I only digress to share these few verses because if I don't, I'm going to explode. Plus, they're going to show you why so many people who seem to be lacking in the spiritual department can do so many great things. Look at Rome. Was that built by Christians? No. What about the Persian Empire? No. Or China? No. None of them were Christians. People spread all around the earth. Non-Christian. You see, Jesus, overheard by his apostles, had spoken directly to a fruitless fig tree one time. And he told it, the tree, that it would never produce fruit again. Nobody's going to eat from you again, buddy. And then he turned his attention and walked directly into Jerusalem and into the temple. And there he confronted the greedy money changers who were ripping off the good-hearted people attending the temple. And let's just say Jesus made quite a scene, turning over tables covered with neat little stacks of coins, money rolling around over the pavers, and forcing the idiots to leave. He and his faithful crew then left Jerusalem and stayed the night in Bethany. The next day they walked the same path back into Jerusalem for a second time. This is just days before he passed. Mark 11, 21 and 23 from the DRA, which is a Douay Rheims 1899 American edition. Now listen to how this guy translated a verse that you've said many times. Verse 21 of Mark 11. And Peter, remembering, said to him, "Rabbi, behold, the fig tree which thou didst curse is withered away." And Jesus answered and said unto them, "Have the faith of God. Amen, I say to you, that whosoever shall say to this mountain, Be thou removed, and be cast into the sea, and shall not stagger in his heart, but believe that whatsoever he says shall be done, it shall be done unto him." Now, most translations say, have faith in God. Now, we do need faith in God. But here he said, have the faith of God. Now you're saying, Mark, that's blasphemous. It's blasphemous, Mark. You can't even talk like that. Well, I can, and I did, and I have the microphone here. You know, so, I mean, it's just crazy. It's you know, they just, people dare to, they try to correct this translation because they think there's no way you can have the faith or the believing of God. But why would Jesus say that? Do you realize that it's possible to have the faith or the believing of God? What has God done? Step one to receiving is having the believing of God. Step one to receiving is having the believing of God. This is still in the soul category, folks. Don't try to place it on step 2. We're not even to step 2. These are things you can do with step 1. Not even a spiritually minded person can do this stuff and do many of it. Can you picture in your mind something you want or need so clearly it seems as if you already have it? God can do that, and so can you. That's faith. That's believing. That is a function of the soul. It's a function of the soul. All successful people have developed the ability to picture their dreams so clearly that it feels like they already have it. And soon enough they do. Soon enough they do. Hebrews 11, 1 and 2 from the Message says, the fundamental fact of existence is that this trust in God, this faith, is a firm foundation under everything that makes life worth living. It's our handle on what we can't see. The act of faith is what distinguishes our ancestors, sets them above the crowd. What does that mean? What does it mean to have the faith of God? Believing or faith comes from the heart, the mind. It's not necessarily spiritual. Now, a lot of people say, well, it's believing, the spiritual side of believing. Well, I think there's more to it than that. Because you just cut yourself off, folks, from the amazing abundance that's available to you. You can develop the believing of God. Learning to have the believing of God is a lesson of the soul. Now back to Genesis 1:22. And God blessed them. He blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply and fill the waters and the seas and let the fowl multiply in the earth. Now that we understand that our soul is the life in us as well as a life that we're looking forward to. Your soul is bigger than today. Or else how can you have faith? Faith is always something, is looking towards the future. Faith is always something that you don't have. But it's just that sure expectation. It's yours. It's mine. That's how God was. I want her. Want him. God so blessed them. God so blessed them that he got down on his knees figuratively and enraptured a door, he was blessed. That's the mind picture here. The word blessed is get on your knees and it's like, oh my God, I can't believe what I've made here. Like looking at that little baby. He told them to be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. He's saying this to animals. If you look at this verse in simply reproductive terms, you miss the point by 1.5 miles millennia. To be faithful and multiply and fill the earth means so much more than a few months of friction. Sure, the procreative is necessary, but this verse is deeper than that. It does include that. It's all good. Did you know that this was probably one of the first lessons God taught Adam and Eve? You got to control your soul, dude and dudette. You got to control your soul, control your brain, control your heart, control your thoughts, control your vision. You got to be in command of what you want. Because you just might get it. Someone just told me. This is one of the first lessons Moses had to teach the ultra-stubborn children of Israel soon after they left the slavery of Egypt. They were not a free-thinking people. If you'd been for generation after generation after generation a slave, you just do as little work as you can possibly get away with. Talk about trying to change that. Well, it also shows us the people who feel like they're victims today, they could change their mind and do amazing things. So don't be too hard on them. Teach them a little of the Bible. See, And this is one of the first lessons he had to teach those people. They were not free thinkers. They were raised to be subservient. They were raised to obey and to do the task at hand and not to try to bring their dreams into reality via faith or believing. That isn't stuff that slaves typically think of. They just want to make it through the day. Fruitful means to bear fruit. You know, to grow or to increase in who you are. A man is known by his fruit. So fruitfulness is what you produce from you. Be fruitful. Use your gift. A bird has a different gift than a whale. A bird wouldn't make a very good whale. It's not going to dive down 7,000 feet to catch a squid. Nor is a whale going to float through the sky on its little fins, you know, and jump on your bird feeder. You know, ain't going to happen that way. Fruitful. You're known by your fruit. Increase who you are. That's what fruitful is. Multiply literally means to overfill your space, to grow bigger than you were yesterday. Be bigger tomorrow than you were today. That's what every day we should be a little bigger, better, stronger, faster, smarter, something. This takes faith, believing, conviction, and action. Fill means to fill up or to be full of. It means to have enough vision and energy to both fill your space now and in the future. But to fill yourself up with it as well. You know, it's to fully utilize your gift. We are our gift, and our gift is us. You fill your dominion as you fill yourself up within your domain. You breathe in abundance and you exhale plenty. You breathe in sunshine and you exhale lightning. That's believing. See, this day can no longer hold you. This day is no longer big enough for you. That's the mindset here. Be fruitful and multiply and fill. There's nothing stagnant about that. There's nothing static about that. Genesis 1:22 deals with the soul. The soul can be controlled by each and everybody on earth. By controlling our souls, we can move mountains. The first blessing of God is about man with his ability to believe, to have faith for a bright future, and to look to him for that supply. God is super blessed by your soul. Now blessing number 2. He's blessed by your spirit. The second thing that blessed God in Genesis has to do with the spiritual side of man. And this spirit is seldom taught and sporadically used. Genesis 1:28 from the King James. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. Remember that word blessed is the same as I mentioned previously. That blessing is to kneel down in awe of what's been created. God was awestruck when mankind actually manifested the benefits of the Spirit. The moment He created spirit and man, He had already lived out their amazing lives with them. When he first did it, all of a sudden He'd lived all Adam's lives and all our lives. He saw the whole thing in that split second. And He was blessed. He saw what He made, and it was good. You're good. God says you're good. He's already lived out your amazing life with you. He saw past the failures and into the light that was caused by their lives. It's not worth looking at the bad things that happen to us or worrying about bad things that may happen. Just keep your eye on the prize, on the light. There are a few of the same words in verse 28 as there were in verse 22, with a couple of additions here. You remember the words fruitful, multiply, and we know the word replenish is in this 28 is the exact same word as the word fill in verse 22. It's the exact same Hebrew word, okay? Fill and replenish are exactly the same thing. Now, most Christians are taught that replenishing was repopulating the earth after all the humanoids were killed in a global calamity, but it means more. It means more than this. The two added words are the key to what will happen if we can only get up the nerve to walk by the Spirit of God. Most of us are so afraid to try that we never ask God to show us the way. What would you do if God really showed you what was happening in this world? It would help you, but it might also be disturbing. You see, this world is advancing to a large degree because of verse 22. The blessings of having a soul, the ability to jump past reacting to instinct, to pushing toward future advancement and abundance is a little different. Verse 28 is a bit similar to blessing number 1, except it adds the words subdue and dominion. Subdue and dominate. And those are a couple of heap big, powerful words, compadres. Subdue means to break it in, to embody it, to employ it, to make good use of what you've been given. You ever have a car and the older cars, you had to break them in. You drove them you changed the oil a couple of times, you're at 300 miles or whatever. You had to break it in. Well, subdue means break it in, to embody it, to employ it, to use what you got. Dominion means to totally go for it. It means to make it happen, to bring it all together, or to prevail. Now, this isn't necessarily having dominion over people or necessarily being able to train a killer whale, though people do it. That may be a piece of dominion, but this is something totally different. With the Spirit of God, we will not just fill the earth with our gift, while at the same time filling ourselves with the beauties that can be seen, heard, tasted, and touched. With the Spirit of God, we can prevail. We can dominate our life. How would you like to be in total dominion of your own life? Well, you can with the Spirit of God. With just a soul, you can live pretty darn good. You could become a billionaire. I mean, there's thousands of people that are billionaires now. It's pretty easy to be a millionaire nowadays. You own a couple of houses and you're a millionaire, you see. But with the Spirit of God, we bless God by taking full ownership of our lives, body, soul, and spirit. We are complete and we completely bless God. He's going, whoa! He can't keep his eyes off you even more now. Isaiah 55:12 from the Message says, so you'll go out in joy. You'll be led into a whole and complete life. The mountains and hills will lead the parade, bursting with song. Bursting with song. Now that would be sort of freaky on a trail run. But you get the mind picture. The universe can't contain itself when it sees the real you. It can't contain itself. The second blessing to God is us using the Spirit He gave us. He's awaiting our believing. God is awaiting our unveiling. God's awaiting our unveiling of this spiritual side of us. Ephesians 1:18. Open the eyes of their hearts and let the light of your truth flood in. Shine your light on the hope you are calling them to embrace. Reveal to them the glorious riches you are preparing as their inheritance. Let them see the full extent of your power that's at work in those of us who believe, that it may be done according to your might and power. Friends, It is the same might and resurrection power that he used in the Anointed One to raise him from the dead and to position him at his right hand in heaven. There is nothing over him. Master the spiritual side is blessing number 2. Master your spiritual side is blessing number 2. Now blessing number 3. Blessed to finish your work. The third blessing of God is to finish what we started. You see it through to the end. And that's what he wanted Adam and Eve to see. That's what Moses needed to see. That's what the children of Israel needed to see. That's what all great men and women throughout time need to see. You need to finish it to the end. You master that soul life. You get great at thinking. You get great at action. You get great at making things happen. And then you add in that spiritual side and boom, you dominate. The whole world opens up for you in a whole different way. You see, and now he's saying, finish what you started. Finish what you started. You got good with your soul life. You got good spiritually. Let's finish it. Let's finish the job I sent you for. This ties back to blessing number 1, to totally use the ability to visualize our future and put in the work to bring it to pass. Blessing 3 is finishing our work. Like Jesus said or sang during his crucifixion, it is finished. It's finished. It's finished. He did every single thing that God asked of him. Every single thing. Now, I can't say that. But I'm doing something. I'm trying to do the best I can. I'm not pissing and moaning about my past, because what good's it going to do? Nothing I can do about it. All I can do is be bigger than this day. Make the most out of this day. Blessing 3 is finish your work. Finish what you started. See it through to the end. And so Genesis 2:3, and this is the third blessing in early Genesis. First one, he's blessed with that soul. Second one, he's blessed with that spirit. And this time he blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. Now, God wasn't tired. We all know that. And, people say, well, he sat because he finished. Okay, well, that's partially true. You see, God was crazy blessed when he looked back and realized what he had 100% and totally, that he had finished his work 100%, that he totally completed it. He did everything he needed to do at that point to make it happen. At this moment, he was at their creation, as well as at the gathering together with Christ, and seeing how well we handle our new lives and our eternities. It's a lot to soak in. It's a lot to soak in, but God can handle it. The word blessed means to kneel down and marvel at your creation. So, my friends, be blessed and amazed at your ability to believe and to move mountains. Be blessed and astonished at your ability to walk with a spiritual power like all the greats: Noah, Abraham, Moses, David, Daniel, Ruth, Esther, all the prophets, and even the brothers, Jesus, Peter, Paul, and so many others through the years that have helped us get to the point we are right now. Fill up your space with the gift of who you are and breathe in that very same space. Now, outgrow that space and keep evolving, keep growing, keep iterating. Finally, any chance you get, turn around, look back, and rejoice at what you've done. And kneel down and thank God that he had the guts and the energy to completely and absolutely finish what he started, so that you can absolutely and completely finish what you started. God's view of you is, and he wanted me to tell you this, that he is super blessed and amazed with you. God is super blessed and amazed with you. Just like you're super blessed and amazed with him. He adores you. He kneels down and goes, whoa, what a babe. That is one good-looking body, soul, and spirit. Woo-hoo! He will give you whatever you need to do the things you dream of doing. I'm going to say that again. God will and has already given you everything that you'll ever need. Everything you dream about can be supplied. You know that? Or you couldn't dream it. The thought could not even be there. It couldn't even be there if it wasn't possible. Why would he do that to you? Why would he do it to you? I'm just saying, God is triple blessed with you. God bless you all.